Welcome back to this new training session. In this one, we are going to learn how to create a REST API. Let's start by creating an ABAP class. Afterwards, we are going to create the API using that class, and in the end, we are going to consume the API in one application. The use of the APIs is recommended due to the fact that it's easier to use and reuse the same API into different applications. So let's jump into the Eclipse and start creating the ABAP class. So let's choose new class. Let's type the name of the class, in this case ZCL underscore my underscore first underscore API. Then we need to include the interface that connects the API to the class. Let's press Add and search for the interface. The name is /Neptune/if underscore REST API. Let's double click. Now we just need to enter the description and we can save it. Now that we have the class created, let's start to implement the code. All the methods that we want to use in the operations of the API, and also all the attributes that we want to use as properties in the API, we need to create, or in this case we need to declare them as public. Otherwise they are not going to appear in the API. Let's choose the public section and start to declare a table to transfer data to the app. In this case, we are going to do a select on the material master data table. So let's declare a table. Let's call it global table Mara. And now let's declare the method where we are going to fetch the records into the global table. Let's call it get Mara. We can see that we have here error notification. This is due to the fact that we didn't implement yet the method. So let's go into the implementation area and declare the method get Mara, and let's close it and method. Let's do the select. In this case we are going to perform a select star from Mara into corresponding fields of table global table underscore Mara, and we want to fetch only a few records, so let's put up to 10 records. Let's activate, and with this step we conclude the class. So let's jump into the cockpit and start to creating the API. And to do this we need to open the API designer. Let's search for it and press. Let's add a new API. Let's put the name my first API. On the path we specify the access point where the API can be accessed. This path needs to be unique across the entire system. Let's type my first API without any spaces. On the data provided class, we choose the class that we have created earlier. Then we can press the button to create the API. Now the API is ready and we only need to add some additional information. We can choose a package. In this case I'm not going to put anything, I'm going to leave it in a temp package. and we need to specify the operation that we want to use. So let's press the add button and choose the get CRUD option. On the method data provided class, we choose the method in the class that we have created. So in this case we need to choose get Mara. On the path inside the operation, we need to specify the path for this operation. So let's call it get Mara. Now we can start to configure the operation. Let's go to the request, and in this case, due to the fact that this is a get method, we are not able to pass any parameter on the request. So let's jump into the response and choose the information that we want to pass on this operation. So let's tick the box for the global table. Let's also tick the checkbox for the XLT transformation if it's available. And let's also enable the compression. And with this step, we finalize the configuration of the API. So let's save it. And now we can jump into the app designer. Let's start by pressing the create new app button. Let's put the name of the application, my first API, and save. In this case, because we are going to use the APIs, we don't need to specify an ABAP class. So let's go into the area to design the application. In this case, we are going to create a very simple application. So let's start by dragging a shell. Then we need to drag an app inside the shell, and we need to drag a page. Also, we need to include a list, and to display the data, let's put a standard list item. Let's also get the REST API. In this case, let's save it on the resources. And on the REST API, let's choose the API that we have created. Let's search by the name of the API, my first API. Then we also need to specify which operation we want to use. In our case, we only specified one, so let's choose the get Mara. Now we can see that in the attributes we can specify when this API is triggered, if it's automatically triggered at the beginning. So let's set the initial load to online. Now we need to go to the list and specify the model source. Let's choose the global table Mara. Let's go to the standard list item and bind some information. Let's bind on the info the material number, so let's choose the Matenière. And on the title, let's bind the material type, so let's choose the MTART. To beautify a little bit more the content, let's add a formatter to remove the leading zeros. So let's go to the formatters, choose the string remove leading zeros, and let's activate and see the result. Okay, so we can see that we don't have any information being displayed. Let's run the application in a separated window, so it's easier to open the developer tools. Let's refresh the page and switch to the network tab, so we can see that the API is being triggered. Let's inspect the API, so we can see the URL that it's being called, and we can see that we have data being retrieved. So the reason why the information is not being displayed, it's due to the fact that on the Ajax success we didn't pass the information to the list. So let's go to the Ajax success. Let's type debug, so we can see how we can retrieve the data. Let's go to the other tab and press refresh, so we are stopped on the debugger. And we can see that in the Ajax success we have a variable called data. So let's type data on the console. We can see that inside the data we have a response. Let's add response, and voila, we can see the global table Mara. Let's also put global table Mara, and we have the records. Let's copy this, go to the app designer, remove the debugger, and pass the code that we copy from the console. Let's activate once more, and voila, we have the information being displayed. Doing this through the Ajax success normally is used when we need to manipulate the data that it's retrieved before being displayed. We have a simpler way to do this. We just need to go to the model and tick the box. So let's remove the code from the Ajax success. Now let's go to the model and tick the box for the receiving. As we can see, the data is retrieved as previously. And with this, we conclude this session. I hope that you liked these trainings and return for the next one. See you soon.